Thank you for staying tuned. And concerns have been raised about debt sustainability at the state government level owing to their inability to meet certain statutory obligations such as regular salary payment to civil servants, timely payment of contractors' fees, among others. Now, data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that as at second quarter of 2018, Nigeria's total domestic debts were at 15.63 trillion naira. The 36 states and FCT accounted for 3.47 trillion naira, while the federal government was responsible for 12.12 trillion naira. With the issue of minimum wage increase on the front burner now, many have wondered how many states will be able to pay that. Joining me now to look at some of these issues of state debt is a financial and management consultant and the CEO of Flame Academy and Consulting firm, Mr. Oji Udemezwe. Thank you very much, Mr. Udemezwe, for joining us on the show. I'm seeing you for the first time in the year. Happy New Year, then.
It's going to be a wonderful year for all of us.
Amen. Thank you. Now, the state have a domestic debt stock of about 3.5 trillion naira, and of course, foreign debt of about $4.2 billion. That's at the second quarter of last year. Looking at this, what do you make of it? How sustainable do you think it is?
Yeah, if you look at these figures about a year or two ago, about end of 2016, you found that these figures were lower. About the local debt was about 3 trillion for the states. Now it has risen to 3.5 trillion. And the chances are that, given what we have on ground right now, it will continue to move northwards. How sustainable is it? We all know it's not sustainable. The states have continued to cry every other month that they cannot, continue to, they are not able to meet their obligations. And now we are faced with, we are at that point where they must take on additional expenditure in form of a salary increase, becoming more and more scary, that these states, cannot continue this way. Talking about sustainability, you're looking at how are these states able to meet the obligations on these debts? Will they ever be able to pay them? And all of those. What is the ratio of the debt to their total revenue or even net revenue? And if you look at that report for all the states, almost all the states, except maybe Anambra, Yola, Nasarawa, and a few other states, just about 5 of them, most other states have gone well above 200, 300%, debt to revenue ratio. It's, and Lagos is almost leading that, statistics. Having borrowed much more than their revenue.
Exactly, yes.
And that helps on their capability of meeting, these obligations.
No, well, with Lagos being the highest debtor, if I would put it that way, they also generate
a lot. So it's actually not sinful to owe. There's nothing wrong with having debts. So for states to be indebted, that's not a problem. But where the issue is what you owe compared to what you're able to generate. What's the relationship between those two figures? And then do you have the capacity within your economy? What's the level of productivity in your economy to be able to, create wealth that will enable you to service this debt and ultimately, maintain them? No state or no nation actually pays off its debt totally. But, is your economy running in such a way that if you look at your income, less your expenditure, that you're running in a sustainable manner, and that even the state, the way it's being run, there's capacity to continue to improve productivity in that economy. That people, the state can boast of, adequate human capital, adequate infrastructure, adequate investment in attraction that will ensure that the state continues to move forward, get better and better in terms of its revenue generation. But that's not what's happening here. So we have to look at what is the nature of these debts and what must we do at this point to solve this problem. Not just looking at how can the states get more revenue by way of the rent, normal rent in Nigeria. And now all the governors are fighting for a change in the revenue sharing formula, of the nation. Saying that the federal government taking 50-something% is too much. Can they get more? Let me assure them, beforehand, that getting more money from the federal government does not solve this problem.
It's
so
what you
we need to sit down and
anyway.
Look at what must the states do to solve this problem. We can look at that if time permits.
Yes, of course, we'll get to that. But then, the issue of minimum wage. Now, let's paint the scenario that yes, the states are doing what they are supposed to do. They are channeling this monies into developmental projects.
Okay,
now,
well, let's assume that.
Yes, let's paint that scenario, okay? And then talking about the 30,000 naira minimum wage, do you see these states being able to...
It's an apology. It's really quite shameful that we will be arguing whether a worker, in Nigeria should be able to, well, the lowest worker should be able to earn 30,000, in a month. Let's look at it this way. An average worker, let's assume this person is married, because anybody who's working, maybe after school, has got to the age of marrying. Let's say, this person we're talking about is married and has only about 3 kids. And you look at 30,000 naira, look at the housing. In what kind of place would that person be living? You look at feeding. What kind of food would they be, taking? A family of, let's say, 5 people on 30,000 naira. Of course, you know that in Africa we have high dependency ratio. This person may also have cousins, parents, who depend on him. So look at feeding. Look at health. Today in Nigeria, I read a report that scared me recently. People, sales, pharmaceutical sales have seriously declined. That's the headline of one of the newspapers, in the past 1 week. Pharmaceutical sales have declined seriously in Nigeria because Nigerians are seeking, unorthodox and their own personal solutions to their health issues. They're no longer able to enter the hospitals or the pharmacy and get genuine drugs. Some of them are also looking for the the cheapest kinds of drugs, and then the death rates, careless death rates are increasing in this nation. So if this person is earning 30,000, is that from where they can take care of the health of 5 people, education, shelter, accommodation, not talk about all other issues of life. So 30,000 is even an apology. But then let's even go from governors are even saying they can't pay that. They have to do 22,500. It's just bargaining. The point is that, are we being fair to the poor masses of this nation? Now you look at the poverty trend in Nigeria. Nigeria has been termed the poverty capital of the world, with over 87 million people, abjectly poor today. Now, in the midst of all the economic challenges we're having, the poor is getting poorer. They say that 8,000 people are being added to these statistics, on daily basis or even hourly basis, every day. Now, while the poor is getting poorer, the elites, the political class are actually getting richer. So what is wrong? Exactly. What is the issue of inequality in this economy? How do we address it? Do we address it by, asking states to get more money and all of that? What do we do? The political class is being unduly fed in this country. They are feeding fat on the life of Nigerians. So to solve this problem, we must look at how we spend in each state. Of course, I'm going to talk about revenue generation because most of these states actually all look forward to going to Abuja, for FAC allocation and collecting some rent. Nobody has sat down to look at how do we improve productivity in our state. How do we provide an enabling environment for businesses to thrive in our state so that we can get more people into the tax net? Because today, what most states are doing, is to kill the few companies that they have captured in their tax net, and they want to kill them. They close down these businesses. I traveled to, let me not call the state, some weeks back, and I saw a small business struggling to make a mark and all of that, closed down. Some other business be closed down because there's an issue with the state revenue agent. So the few that they have captured into their net, they are trying to milk them. Even Dangote at a point complained. MTN has complained, and it has caused some stir, in the global investment world. We are just trying to milk and kill those who are in our tax net already. What do we do to expand this net, to bring in millions and millions of others who are earning money but are paying nothing? What are we doing about data, data capturing? What are we doing about making sure that government plays its role in the nation to encourage people to pay their tax? So we're not doing that. The states are not looking at how can they generate more funds independently, apart from what they collect from Abuja. That's the key issue. How can we make our states productive? And of course, when our states are productive, the general productivity in the economy vis-a-vis the gross domestic product will improve. We need governors who are intellectually sound, who have managed businesses before, who have been captains of industry, who understand how to run an organization, to understand the impact of the bottom line, top line, the midline, and then the bottom line. They shouldn't just be looking at how to get more revenue. If you get more revenue, but you're careless how you manage it, you will keep being in the same situation.
Now, do you foresee any state becoming insolvent as a result of this?
Many states are already, if you have to be truthful to ourselves. Insolvency is just a word that says you are unable to meet your medium to long-term obligations. I can assure you, of course, you know that, I don't want to call names, but a lot of states have been living on bailout. Many states are still owing salaries up to 1 year and above. And in finance, any obligation that is 1 year outstanding is long-term. Any obligation that's above 1 year, any instruments that turn out above 1 year are long-term. So if states are owing salaries up to 1 year or above, they are technically insolvent. So it's not about investigating some states. They are already, but because we run a kind of state where if you are very close to, of course we cannot say, let's close this state. You cannot go to court and sue, oh, this state has not paid me. So my lord, the judge, I pray you to please close down this state and use your asset to pay me back. Many families are suffering today because they are being owed, contract sums, payments that ought to come from different states, even the federal government, for jobs done several years ago. And these are part of the debt stock. And this is a technical way of a nation killing its own. Many families, many contractors have done jobs genuinely, and they have not been paid. This is a case of insolvency. But who will, call this spade a spade? So states are not working, and we have to do something urgent about it. And what we have to do, recently the government appointed a technical advisory committee to advise it on what to do. And what I see every day in the news is all about how can they get more money? How do we change the revenue formula so that these states can get more money? And I say clearly, and I hope they're listening to us, that alone does not solve this problem. Give the states more money, and they continue to spend carelessly on political issues, on governors' largesse. They travel large. When they travel, a governor is traveling somewhere, the plane is filled with people who have nothing to do with that trip. You have people who are using 300 million to cut grasses, people who are using this to connect wire from boys' quarter to main house, 300 million. Corruption. And you have governors who are collecting huge amounts of money for security votes, and we have a lot of ghost workers. You have a lot of people who are in the public service doing nothing, unproductivity. And instead of trying to redeploy them to other places where we need them, we keep employing more by way of trying to create employment, and we are going deeper into this hole that we find ourselves in.
Well, we really don't have much time here, but quickly, just before I let you go, what control mechanism do you think can be put in place to, check the states from incurring more?
Number one control is we must ensure that we bring the right people who are fit and proper, people who are competent to govern our states. The next thing is to ensure that these states put in place appropriate governance and administration systems in place, because that's a major issue for us. Until we have proper governance, we cannot translate our growth or our bigness as a nation into development.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ojudemezue. I'm sure
welcome.
It's a continuous discussion, and we'll continue to talk about it. Thank you for your time, Mr. Ojudemezue. Ojudemezue is the CEO of Flame Academy and Consulting. We'll take a break now, and when we come back, we will look at the manufacturing sector. Do stay with us.